All right, Chester, we are doing this. We are conquering our fear of YouTube today. You want to come out? Hi. Hello. All right, let's stand right here together, okay? Hello and welcome to the chaotic. You'll be fine, I promise. You will survive this. Oh, babes, it's okay. You're fine. Welcome to the chaotic content of Chester the Toucan. Some of you may know us from our other platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, where Chester has gone viral many times for his happy honks. But for those who do not know us, welcome. I'm hoping today I can just give a little bit of background into how I got Chester and answer some of the questions people have been asking. You scared of the puffball? You don't have to touch it. Okay. He does not like the puffball. I don't know. It just looked like a cute little microphone thing. All right. So here's the full background and story of Chester the Toucan and how I got him. From what I understand, Chester was born in 2017 in a facility in San Diego called Emerald Forest Bird Gardens. His breed is called a Chestnut Eared Aracari, so naturally the breeders named him Chester because of the chestnut. Your feathers are so pretty. Look at that chestnut color. Yeah, you're so handsome. After Chester was hatched and raised in captivity, he was purchased by a woman who lives in Virginia, and so he was shipped across the country. He's demonstrating. I don't want to speak for Chester's previous owner, but I'm pretty sure that basically she didn't want Chester anymore, needed to find a new home for him, had a friend who owned a bird store in the Virginia area who was able to basically house Chester in a cage there and then wait till they found a suitable owner. I don't think she was okay with just anybody getting him. It sounded like there were some other people who previously were trying to get Chester or whatever, and she said no. Chester was in this bird store for at least a year, which to me is really sad just because it's mostly a bird store of just parrots. So Chester's in this little cage and he just has two perches that are at the same height that he can just go left and right, left and right. That's it. You know, that's not really a very enriching environment, not to mention you're surrounded by parrots and you're one toucan by yourself. It was an extremely loud little bird store and I can't imagine what it was like for Chester to be in there. I guess like she basically like rented a cage there and Chester stayed in it till she was able to find a new owner. So here's where I come in. I went into this bird store because I was sad. I wanted to play with birds. I just walked around, like looked at the birds. I decided I didn't really want to stay. And then as I was about to walk out, I realized that there was this like very little bird that looked like a toucan in the cage. So I was very confused. I was like, is this actually like a little toucan? He looks like it with a big beak, but he's so small. And he's so colorful. The store owner said, yep, his name is Chester and he's for sale. I was not looking to buy a toucan, so I just decided to go over there and interact with him. Chester was like the introvert in a bird store full of extroverts. I ended up staying at the store until it closed and came back a couple days later with some blueberries to just spend the day with Chester and keep him company. We just had a really sweet connection. There was this one moment when I was in the store and I was petting him and he just closed his eyes and laid his beak to rest on my arm while I was petting, and I just felt this amazing connection between the two of us. So while I was hanging out with Chester, one of the employees in the store came over and started taking pictures of Chester. She said, oh, there's this guy who wants to buy him. He just wants to know what he looks like. And I hated that. I hated that so much because that just sounds like every other person out there who just buys an exotic bird because it looks cool. Like you're picking a bird based on how it looks, not based on interacting with them and seeing if you have the same energy, see if the bird bonds with you. I'm making a lot of assumptions here. I think I just got really overprotective of Chester all of a sudden. And I started thinking, if I don't get him, it's very likely somebody else is going to get him who does not know what it's like to deal with an exotic bird. I had a lot of experience with exotic birds, and so I just started thinking, okay, this is not the time in my life I plan to get a bird. I definitely wanted one at some point, but this was just earlier than I expected. But sometimes you just meet an animal and the animal picks you, and that's what this felt like. I started looking into everything that it would take to own a toucan. I assumed that there was some sort of special license you have to have. Turns out you do not. Okay, so no license was needed. And then it was all the logistics. Okay, so if I get a bird, what can I no longer do? I'm gonna have to give up all my candles. I'm gonna have to get rid of my cookware because you can't use anything nonstick. I'm gonna have to get rid of my bakeware because all of that is nonstick. And those things can emit really toxic fumes that can kill birds. I'm going to have to change my cleaning supplies. I'm going to need to only use things like white vinegar and water. They have extremely sensitive respiratory systems. So I knew already some of the things about birds in general and what it would be like to take care of one, but I didn't know specifically about toucans. So after researching online, reaching out to a couple people, I ultimately was led to a Facebook group called Toucans, Toucanettes, and Aracaris. I'd done a ton of research, figured out all of their possible health issues, all the different things that they would need. They eat a lot of fresh exotic fruit and just fresh fruit in general that needs to be a variety So I was going to have to start buying a bunch of fruit and then cutting it up every morning and feeding him different varieties. Yeah, it was expensive, and it was a lot of just like things I had to change about my life that I wasn't necessarily like planning on doing at that moment, but I was willing to change it all and adjust my life for Chester. I brought him home and I had everything set up. I had a cage for him. The second I opened up the little carrier and let him out, he hopped right on my arm. And it was an amazing feeling, an amazing moment. We instantly clicked, and he just was hopping around my apartment, exploring. Yeah, from day one, we were just, I don't know, perfect together. Something that I should mention, because people do try to say, you know, oh, you bought him, this is not a rescue, or this is not an adoption if you spent money. I don't care what you call it. If you want to call it adopted, purchased, rescued, it's however you want to define it. Everybody's going to define it differently. But I will give you the facts of how I got Chester. I met him in a bird store. I did not pay the store. I paid the owner, who was looking to rehome him. When I got Chester and brought him home, I took him to the vet, and they told me he had all these lesions on his feet. So the first 2 months of owning Chester, I was holding him down and rubbing cream on his little foot pads every night. And then also, Chester did not have any tail feathers. And one of the signs when birds are really stressed is they pluck their feathers out. So this to me was a sign that, you know, he'd been really stressed in that cage, and he had been self-harming and ripping these feathers out from stress. It took Chester, I think, just one feather growth cycle before he stopped pulling them out and started just letting them grow. Point being, Chester has a better life now. He has a forever home. He is much healthier, much happier, and has far more enriching activities. So I don't really care how people want to define it or describe it. Up to you. But Chester's in a better place, not in that way. He's a very unique pet to have. What else is there to really say? This is like a kind of not fun, just more like informational intro video. I definitely want to do some fun ones, but I just want people to have the information they're looking for. So if you have specific questions, like please post in the comments. I would love to do one video that's entirely just answering people's questions, because I do think that there are a lot of questions around toucan ownership. And if anybody is getting inspired by these videos and wanting to go out there and get a toucan, first of all, I would not recommend it. But if you do want to take on the challenge, I really want to make sure everybody does their research, asks the right questions, make sure it's right for you, because the worst thing you can do to any pet bird is get them and then abandon them. If you rehome them, they're going to remember that. They're not these stupid little animals in a cage, and nor should they be in a cage all the time. Chester's cage is basically just his like bedroom. He doesn't even sleep in there. It's just his safe space. So I guess I'll end the video here, because I don't really know where to end it. There's like a million things I could talk about, and I've been rambling. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, but YouTube is where I'm going to be posting these longer videos, because I really do want to share this information. I do want to provide some education, and I don't know, this will be fun. This is a journey. It's an experience. YouTube kind of terrifies me because it's a lot to make this kind of content. I had to buy a little fluffy mic, and Chester's terrified of it. So if you got this far, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We're going to keep posting content on here. So let me know what you want to see. Let me know what questions you have. And other than that, I guess we'll see you next time.